Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. This is Create with Franz, and this is Franz, all the way from Wyoming. And with a guest today, we're going to talk about something very important, which is the link between trauma, past events, and the circumstances of our life. So you're going to find out why sometimes we have pains, niggle problems in our body that have nothing to do with proper disease, with emotional issues. And we do this with an amazing that is coming back to us again, all the way from England. Her name is Rachel Farnworth. So welcome to the show.
Thank you, Franz. It's great to have you. Great to be here. And thank you for inviting me.
Well, it's always a pleasure to have you back. You guys have watched this show for long enough. You will remember that 7 months ago, we talked about how Rachel was trained in rapid transformational therapy, just like myself, and she practiced on her daughter, and they were able to completely reverse juvenile arthritis. It was idiopathic, so nobody knew what it was, and now she's been years, any symptoms, no markers. She's just amazing. I remember stories, psoriasis, it's just incredible. And it's such a test of the fact that the body-mind connection and our soul connection are a real thing. It isn't woo-woo or conspiracy theory. It's just a reality. We express what we have in a way that sometimes is very physical. This is not to say we do disease. We do have disease. We do have problems because of diet, environments, accidents, old age, but many times this so-called disease, like for example, AIDS, are not caused by a virus coming over, but by something happening inside. And this is what we're going to talk about, because Rachel, in this moment, seems to be the top expert, at least in AI, and she has won so many awards about it, and even published a book which is called Decoding the Body Message?
Decoding the body's messages, unlock your wisdom to heal. Yes.
There we go, the body messages.
And it's already been nominated for an award, which is really exciting.
Right. So that's amazing. And this book is going to be done. And this, guys, is not a sales pitch. Just trying to help you, because this channel is dedicated to help you, or to helping you for English, to finding these solutions, which are right under your nose. And because we want to unlock the root cause of what's going on. So let's get you started and understand what's going on here. Tell me more a little bit about this connection. How did you learn about the connection between the body and the mind?
But to start with, it was just with sessions that I was working with clients, and it was just like apparent that our bodies are talking to us in different pain and symptoms. And then I had a dream that is quite funny, because I dreamt that I was going to be able to diagnose, commas, be able to diagnose people in 10 minutes or less. And that was really interesting. And then I found Julia Cannon, who's Dolores Cannon's daughter, and she talks about how our bodies talk to us in pain and symptoms. So I trained with her, and basically anything on our right side of our bodies is in the present moment, talking about something in the right here, right now. Anything on the left side is something in the past. And then where the symptoms are in our body is telling a deeper story. So, for example, our hands and arms are about holding on to things we need to be letting go of. Our legs are saying we can't move forward from something emotionally. Our throats are about not being able to speak up. Our lungs are about feeling restricted, feeling suffocated, usually in a relationship, something close to us, maybe a job. Our digestive systems are all about pushing our emotions down rather than processing them. Our thyroid, again, is about not being able to speak up. Anything to do with our mouth is the same. What I missed. Diabetes is lack of joy in our life, lack of sweetness. Our bodies are so literal, and all it is your body is talking to you It's the link between the subconscious and the conscious mind. And our symptoms are just messages asking us to go within and release repressed emotions, because, like you said, you cannot separate the mind, body, spirit.
Yes. That makes me really wonder, do you have any examples from a client with all the comments you can put in privacy, showing how these two things are? Because I'm sure some people haven't made the connection yet. They think every disease comes from germs, and there is a lot more. What can you talk to us about?
Well, recently I had a lady with IBS, Crohn's disease, and that was because of the toxic relationships that she had as a child, where she felt completely powerless. She was the youngest of 7 children, I think, or quite a number of children. And so she was feeling like the bottom of the litter, feeling really like her brothers, sisters bullied her. So did her parents, really, made her the scapegoat a lot of the time. And so what can she do? She's got to just push all that feelings down. And that's what created the IBS until we worked together. And it's amazing because she went through it and she said, it didn't matter what the captain put out on the table, she was able to eat all of it. Anything she chose, fine. She did, none of it made her ill, where previously she said, oh, I can only eat this very, very limited diet. Now she can eat everything. So that's amazing.
Yeah, so audio is a bit choppy. So you're saying now she can eat unlimited foods, is that correct? Yeah.
Unlimited food, yes. Whatever she chooses to eat, she can eat.
Yeah, isn't that incredible? Because as we all know, and we mentioned this before, when we say IBS, it's just an umbrella to indicate we're not really sure where this is coming from. The cure is different from everyone. You could have action or another. The doctor doesn't know, so he just puts his umbrella term to say yes. And yes, IBS is very well known to be connected with people who, for example, suffer from anxiety. It's typical. And then it goes away when the anxiety is managed, or, so isn't that interesting?
It is very interesting. Like we said, you cannot separate the mind, body, spirit. It's all the body talks to us. It's like a warning light on a vehicle's dashboard, really. Once that warning light goes out, once the symptoms go, once you've got the root cause dealt with, the symptoms disappear.
So no matter how much we address the problem by using a cream or a surgery, if the emotional root is still there, maybe the body will hear from that particular ailment, will express somewhere else, because it's to come out, because we are beings that have something, you want to call it a soul, some people will call it energy. But this energy, if it's negative, has to be expressed. So that's interesting. I remember your case about this guy that had a very huge patch of psoriasis that's many years ago, when we were both on the legs. And
it was
I saw
his hair, it was on his body, torso, legs, arms, pretty much everywhere. And that was about trapped anger as a child. And he also broke his knee in his 20s. And that's when it began. So he broke his knee in his 20s, and the session that we had together revealed that the psoriasis started to distract himself from his painful knee. But 15 years later, the psoriasis was still there. His knee was healed years ago. And that's what it was there for. So his beautiful subconscious mind was trying to distract him in some way because his knee hurt so much. But it also forgot to cancel the psoriasis after his knee healed. But there was suppressed emotion from childhood, like his brother was bullying him a little bit, just normal childhood stuff. And I was in the session, I remember saying to him, "Isn't it curious how I'm saying, how does that make you feel? Anger, anger, anger. And your skin looks so angry. Curious." And he's like, And he was very skeptical. He thought I was, the usual thing. I was going to make him look like a chicken and all this sort of stuff. And at the end of the session, because I said to him, "What do you need to do to let go of it?" And he said, "I just need to imagine myself having a cleansing bath." I said, "Okay, just do that then." And then opened up his eyes and he swore at me. He just said, "What the F did you just do to me?" Because he felt it go. I said, "I didn't do anything. You did that." Because you've got
Amazing.
the power.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a you got the power, and that is so true. And we need to let it. It doesn't always happen. Sometimes there are exceptions where we really on to something because that has become who we are. And I remember one of my very first session, 2018, a lovely lady, hardworking, and put her into hypnosis. We relaxed, did everything, and then she said, "You know, Franz, I feel that all the emotional thing is gone. I shifted, but I'm not sure if this has worked." I said, "Well, you know, just give it the time because you have to understand this, etc." And it was fibromyalgia, and this was pushing herself so much every day. I go, fibromyalgia is not going to stop me. I'm gonna go and work. I'm gonna serve. I'm gonna do this. I'm not gonna stop until she was really in total pain. She would just do and do and do. I remember working with Stephen Blake, who does Pain to Go, and he described his fibromyalgia sufferers as mostly really giving souls, generous, they want to. Fibromyalgia is there to tell them to stop, and they say, "You're not stop me," so they keep going, and it becomes stronger. Some months later, I talked to her again. We are in the same circle of friends, and she said, "You know, Franz, many years ago, I worked with an hypnotherapist. He relaxed me so well that I felt pain. The pain was just gone. It left my body. I went home. As I went home, I hated myself because that was who I am. And so I got the back. So she eased the pain. And she goes through a huge protocol every day to just cope with that pain. But she doesn't let go of the pain because that's now her identity of being a giver, a care, which is a wonderful thing. But she has no time for herself, really. She's just giving because she doesn't want to let down anyone. And so there is a point sometimes when we have to decide what's more important, for in pain all the time or to take the time for ourselves. And I'm noticing women, they tend to suffer from fibromyalgia because they can't stop giving. They think they feel they're not enough or something. I don't know. I don't want to make a blanket statement. And I think it's amazing when we think about the others. There must be a way that we also love ourselves and we break and look inside and say, what is the body trying to tell me? What's the message here? You know?
Yes, that's right. And it's not selfish. It's necessary to look after yourself, isn't it? It's like if you're on the aircraft, they tell you to put your oxygen mask on first because it's no good if you can't breathe. You can't help anybody. Same thing. You need to look after yourself first, then you give to more people. Same as it's important to love yourself first, and it's easier to love other people because you don't feel depleted.
Yes. Also understanding this very basic concept that we are entitled to feel happy, to fineness. Because some of us think that happiness is something to procrastinate to when the children have grown up or to some fancy event in the future, or we don't deserve it. Something tragic happened. I'll give you another example. One RTT person that I know very well. I want to name. She knows who she is. Hi. She came to me being a widow of a very long husband who tragically died. And she was into sports and coaching young people to sports. But she was suffering from this terrible debilitating backaches. We had a session and it out that the pain was there because now she was married to another wonderful man, and the pain was there to her that she had lost a husband and she couldn't be happy. And after the session, she said, "No, I'm no longer using painkillers." And so that's all I remember from her now. But the pain was there, a reminder. I mean, our mind, it just has this creativity about it. Yeah.
Yes.
If a person comes to you, wants to understand what's going on, why pain is there, what is your process? What would you do with it?
Okay, well, first of all, I mean, a good gateway into my world is the book Decoding the Body's Messages, because in there it talks about the link between your past situations and how the body is storing the pain. So there's an A to Z in there as well, with the ailments and what the emotional root causes are. And then in the back of the book, it's Unlocking the Wisdom to Heal, basically talking about releasing negative self-talk, building confidence, and loads of other things as well, including little QR codes so you can download your own journals and listen to meditations and other things, so that it's and balancing your energy centers as well, which is really powerful and effective. So that is a real gateway into what I'm talking about. But your body knows, so it's just talking about what's going on and then having a session together, because I don't need to know all the, like you were saying, you don't need to know everything you've ever gone through. Your mind will bring up in the session what's relevant to you, that is why the pain is there, why the symptoms are there. And then once we've done the detective work, we can then let go of it all.
Yes. So is that using hypnosis, let it go?
It's using therapy, yeah, and then using regression. So it's going back to how, when, where, why it all began. And it's just like a daydream. You just start thinking like, oh, I don't know why I'm here. It's not the worst thing I ever endured. Like a session recently, having my hair pulled. My sister or my brother was little, pulling my hair, and that made me feel like I can't stop that, because my mum's going to tell me off if I tell my sister to stop pulling my hair, but it really hurts. And therefore, I learned then that love is painful, for example. And so then you need pain in order to connect to other people. It's just a weird kind of way that our conscious minds aren't logical, they're emotional. And that's the thing. So it's really going back to your mind. Everybody's mind knows where it all began. The daydreaming thing is just really lovely. You just talk to me about what you're experiencing, and then we do the empowering part after that. And I've also got my own method of finding the reason, the aim, the plan, and the goal behind it as well. And sometimes I use the emotional part, the motivational part of you that wants to change. So if it's a little bit obstinate, a little bit not really sure I want to leave, we bring on motivation, the motivational part that brought you in front of me, to see that desire and to see how life is going to look like in the future, and how you really are ready to go with the old stories.
So does this all happen in one session, or do people need to come back?
Sometimes it's usually 1 to 4 sessions is usually enough for one issue. It just depends how it's wired in. I can't tell you how many sessions it takes, but every session I get to the root, every single session. So it's every set, like there's never anything that happens. That's not a thing. There's always some change, a big transformation.
Yes, so interesting. I'm just trying to wonder myself, what kind of questions would the audience have for you if they meet you in person? And I'm like, because I know so much about the connections. Oh, this for me is quite obvious, isn't it? But I'm just saying now. So if a person today is suffering from something, the doctors can't really tell you why they have it. They just say, oh, just have this painkiller, antidepressant, whatever, but we can't do about it. So what will be the first tip or step that they could consider now to move forward?
The first thing I'd say, get my book and have a look and see what your body's telling you, because I think that it just gives you such an insight into what's going on. But the good question to ask yourself really would be, what was going on for me emotionally when these symptoms began? And that will give you an insight into, oh, I wonder if it's because I got divorced. I wonder if it's because my mum died at that time. I wonder if it's because I moved countries or moved state or moved county. I wonder if it's because I changed my job. It's all that sort of thing. So it's looking at the emotional thing behind the symptoms. What was going on for you at the time or just before that happened?
Yes.
It usually goes back further than that. but because it often starts, it's about the first time you felt that way. So it's very often just go back into childhood, but it's a really good way of thinking about what happened, what was going on for me emotionally when this thing began in my body. That will give you a great insight.
Good. And sometimes it's the tiniest event. It doesn't have to be trauma or whatever. It could be something tiny. Maybe you had your first basketball game on the season and you were like 8 and you didn't come because it's always too busy for you. And you think, oh, I'm not old enough. Nobody's ever going to look at me. And then maybe if they cannot see me, I'm invisible. Maybe if I'm invisible, I'm not going to grow well. I'm going to be very, very thin because nobody can see me. Who knows? So all these things come out when we are very young, and then we keep that belief for years.
Yes, because we don't know it's there. It's a subconscious belief, all belief that's like internally woven into everything. It's like I had a client once about anxiety, and I remember her saying, it was quite funny. She said, "Oh, I'm not in the right place." So I said, "What do you mean?" She says, "I've got a thought in my head, but this isn't the worst thing that ever happened to me." So that's interesting. Tell me more. So she said, "Well, I'm at school and having a photograph taken." I said, "Okay, that doesn't sound very dramatic, but let's go on. You're feeling, oh, I don't belong in this school. Well, I don't belong is a big wound, isn't it? I don't belong. Oh, well, I left this school, but I've had to come back to this school because it's a presentation. We did something, I can't remember what it was, but they did some sports or something. They had to have the photograph taken and they got the medals and stuff. But she didn't feel like she belonged in this old school. She'd already moved to a different school. She didn't feel like she belonged in the different school because she hadn't been there long either. She didn't belong, and all her friends had made different friends. And so that I don't belong in either place, a big wound for her. I think she was about 8 years old. And that's where the anxiety came.
Right. That's incredible. Now, let's go back then to the school for a minute, because it's an interesting conversation. We're going all over the place. We'll explore this. Think about now, you go to a school and it's said the majority of teenagers suffer from social anxiety. And they have symptoms. They can't breathe, they're sweating, they feel exhausted, they can't talk to anyone because they feel like they're weirdos and else is much better, and they're not connected with others. Is this like a collective problem? Could have an emotional reason that could be healed?
Absolutely, it all can, because we're born confident. And yet things have eradicated that confidence. I mean, when we're in a pushchair or stroller, we don't start going, "Don't look at me," do we? We don't, we just like do that toothless smile and just grin, lap all that attention up. But then life happens and we're like, "Oh no, don't look at me, I'm spotty and I've got this and my hair looks a mess," and all the stories. And why is that? Because of your life experience. So it's going back to how, when, why. Like it could be the boys at school, could be that you felt different at school. We all do, actually, don't we? We all feel like we don't belong. I know I did, and I got anxiety, it was my normal. I didn't even know that's what I got. I thought it was part of my personality way back then. So it's just looking and seeing what it's all about. And maybe it's bullies at school, maybe it's just the friendship groups that you were in. It can be so much. Or even a teacher telling you you're stupid and you'll never amount to anything. We can't say, "Oh, why are you a teacher? You should be empowering me. You should be motivating me. Should you even be a teacher?" We just go, "Oh, you told me I'm stupid. It must be true."
Must be true.
And we wear that all the time. I'm stupid. I can't remember anything. And wonder why your memory's poor.
Yeah. I have so many clients asked that they told me, "Oh, I have this problem." The problem, they always come back to something that happened in school. Like one of them was giving a short presentation, and then the teacher stood up and said, "Don't ever do a presentation like this because blah, 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 blah." And since then, the person is socially awkward. And, another time there was a person that was desperate to use the tool, and the teacher wouldn't let them. And this is like a human right. But the person needed to go. She felt like she wanted to sick and whatever, and she couldn't go. And the teacher said, no, you're going to stay until the lesson. And eventually the person said, I just cannot. So walked out and went to the restroom. And then since then, she had loads of panic attacks. They ended up, when she was in her being stuck home for 3-4 years, she could only go home and, walk a mile, half a mile in any direction, but she could not venture any further because this panic attack would come. And it all started back with this event. When a person was putting a bound to the freedom that we have, and we feel restricted, and for some reason we start restricting ourselves. Is that control? It's a bit like OCD when you try to control everything. Doesn't make sense, So, Christine, another tip. Let's get for one more for a person that is suffering from something, maybe OCD, maybe they're annoyed about something, maybe they have weird headaches, so maybe suffering from vertigo all the time, and there is no problem there. What can they do now? So they read the book, they understand what's going on, like, yeah, there must be something, I don't know what it is. What can they do next?
Book a session with me. Get on my diary and book a session, because vertigo, I worked with that actually very recently, and it was because he felt like his child, actually it was quite odd, not odd, but unusual, because normally come to me because their childhood wasn't that good, but his was really good. And actually what he felt was he couldn't recreate that wonderful feeling in childhood where he felt supported and loved and nurtured and all the rest of it. He couldn't provide himself that feeling in his current moment because his job wasn't satisfying. And that's basically what it's about. Vertigo is about feeling on shaky ground. So when he was able to see what it was about, and that he can actually create that happiness feeling right now, I gave him loads of tools and techniques once we understood why it was there. Looking into the future, saw himself doing other things. I do that a lot as well, because now past, present, and future is just sort of all happening simultaneously. I know it doesn't feel like that as we're looking at it from a perspective where we are. Go into the future and just see how it's like daydreaming again, just seeing yourself, are you happy, what's you doing, and it gives you that like a goal of what you want and where you can achieve and what you're doing and what career you're doing. So that was really exciting. So you can actually see himself doing something different. It does feel like his creative juices are being tested in the right way, instead of just doing his boring job, doing the same old, same old. You can actually see himself doing something different, which is giving him that creativity, which is what he wanted.
Yes. It's called future pacing in NLP training, right? Future pacing, imagine. And our brain works by images.
Yes.
We have this image in our mind, which we're going to win that trophy, we're going to get that degree, we're going to curve a girl that we like, we're going to go to the trip. We daydream. Sometimes the daydreaming is so satisfying and better than the real thing.
Yes. Well, that's how we manifest as well, by thinking about what we want. And that's how I got this house where I live now, because I was on holiday and I was just being in the energy of how wonderful it was, and imagining my new home feeling amazing, like it's on holiday all the time. And on holiday, I got the beach and the swimming pool, and now I've got a river and a swimming pool in walking distance from my house. So I was in that energy of it all, and now I've got this beautiful house that's very similar, and I've got a village or town where I've got a computer shop walking distance. So if my laptop goes down, I can walk it across the road and just say, please, can you fix this? Which is incredible. There are two bakeries, coffee shop, library, Chinese restaurant in walking distance, chip shop, everything. Very important. Yes, absolutely. And a beautiful walk as well, with a really nice bubbling sort of river. It's beautiful. How can it get better than that?
Move to Wyoming. You get the sunshine as well.
Yeah, okay. The weather's not great today. I'll give you.
I'm just kidding, because when the snow will here and the cold, it's going to be brutal. So expect photographs of, snow-topped, whatever. But yeah, I think we can find happiness everywhere, but it is amazing that we can manifest, we can think about it, visualize it. And the big leaders that we know in the world, the very CEOs, the people who are great artists, the people on television or poets, they have vision, they have seen that in the brain. And that's the same also when we're drawing. You can't draw out of fresh air. You have to have an inside, and then you project that image down. So you cannot draw you haven't seen, because you just can't, So we use these images and remind us of things that are good and try to take back. And sometimes we try with food, with music, with drug, alcohol, with parties, to get the happiness again. But other times we have a problem that we are living in this victims, and we think, well, I'm old, so I'm just going to become ill. Or I have this disability, so I can't be happy. Or single person, so I can't be happy. Or we see all this, and that's all we say to ourselves. So we can't create the solution because we just keep telling us the story that we're stuck. So yeah, there's much thought here that we can consider about how we live in the life that we want, or are we just telling ourselves a story? Because as Tony Robbins said, we are only ready to change when the pain current situation is worse than they will get if we change the way of thinking and doing stuff.
That's what I found as well. The fear of staying where I was greater than the fear of the change.
Right. And that's why sometimes you go and have cures and healing and therapy and doctors and antidepressants, but you're not healing because you're not ready to change, because the pain has to be stronger. So, and that's why I always say, if you're serious about change, if you're just going to think that I'm going to go there and boom, heal you, there is something that we do together there. So the client is really serious that they want this change. They want it so much, do anything. And that is the client that will get the healing. Well, I'm just going to have to say thank you so much for being here, Rachel. It's been
Thank you for inviting me. Pleasure.
Yeah.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you. Great.
Yeah. And it's good to see you all have settled in a new area. So,
and you.
Yeah, of course.
We hope when I spoke.
Yeah, we hope that you guys listening to this have listened right to the end, which really helps the channel to grow. And if you think that this is going to be for you, feel free to contact. We are both RTT practice, and also Rachel is specializing with new techniques to unlock the wisdom that you have in your own mind, body, and soul. And also, you can maybe write a review for the podcast. Really help us to move forward, so we can help people to create the life that they want. And this is all about a mission to you guys to get this now. So thank you again, and I'll see you next week. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.